Hello and welcome to Culture on I-24 News. I'm Oded Grober. Thank you so much for joining me today. On the program, we'll say goodbye to Lauren Bacall. Musician Ohad Rein will be here to talk about his unique career path. And we'll hear about Iraqi guitarist and singer Ilham Al-Madfai. Just a day after we said goodbye to actor and comedian Robin Williams, Hollywood mourns the loss of another movie giant, Lauren Bacall, who died on Tuesday at the age of 89. Bacall started her career in 1942 at the age of 17 as an extra. She began modeling until famed director Howard Hawks cast her in To Have and Have Not. In 1944, he signed her to a 7-year personal contract. The film had one of Bacall's most recognized and well-remembered quotes.
You know how to whistle, don't you, Steve? You just put your lips together and blow.
On the set of that film, Bacall met her most important collaborator and partner, both on and off the screen, Humphrey Bogart. Bogart, who was 25 years her senior, was still married at the time, but the two began a relationship and married a year later. The two went on to star together in a number of classic films, The Big Sleep, Dark Passage, and Key Largo, and were married until Bogart's death in 1957. Bacall went on to star in many films and television productions and also had a successful run in the theater. She received 2 Tony Awards for 1970's Applause and 1981's Woman of the Year. She was finally nominated for an Oscar in 1996 for her role in Barbara Streisand's The Mirror Has Two Faces, but lost to Juliette Binoche in The English Patient. In 2009, she received an honorary Academy Award for her career.
A man at last. Well, this is quite an event, I must say. This was something I never expected. I was in total shock when I got the call, and the shock has not quite worn off, I have to say.
Ohad Rein is an Israeli musician taking part in the current season of The Voice Israel. He's also known as Old Man River. Under this moniker, he has already released 2 albums who have become very successful in Australia, Italy, Germany, Japan, India, and the list goes on. Before he conquers the rest of the world, he's right here in our studio. Thanks for coming in, Ohad.
Hello, thanks for having me.
As I started to say, you already have a career going in mostly in Australia, where you spent 10 years. Am I right?
Yes, yes.
So why come back to Israel and start over from scratch?
It's a good question. I mean, usually it takes people about 2 seconds to ask me that in any conversation I have in Israel when they hear that I used to live in Australia.
No, I mean, there's life in Israel is wonderful, but you need to start over.
Of course. I guess it wasn't the most rational decision I made in my life, but the best decisions usually are. I came here basically, I mean, it's a cliche, but for love. My wife, Alona, is Israeli, and after she spent a good time in Australia trying to like it and love it, she missed her family. We have a daughter who's 5 years old. And we decided it's time to spend some time here, and then getting here was a bit of a funny stage, because what you described, all this international success, during this period I never really came much to Israel. It was only short visits.
Right.
So
it wasn't. It's not a big market. I guess you didn't try to make it here.
I try. I mean, when we had a bit of success in Germany and Italy and in that region, I was like, oh, it'd be great to have Israel in the mix. But it didn't work out, and then I was like, well, it's okay, small country. And but then coming to live here was like, well, I have to start over again, just from scratch, like anyone else. So it posed a huge challenge.
So going to The Voice is an attempt to do that? Because you are an experienced musician already. Most people who go on The Voice trying to get a break.
Totally. I think I'm not of the mold, you know, of
Right.
the kind of people that would do something like that. And I personally never thought I'd ever be in a show like The Voice. I don't have a television in my home, you know, so not to mention what I think about the reality format. But the opportunity came, and honestly, at first I was like rejecting it, and they were very persistent and convincing. And I started weighing it out and thinking, well, why not? You know, what inside of me is so afraid
Some
of
would
this?
say it's not a fair competition to the other
To the other contestants. There's something to it, but I think the guys in The Voice this year have made a conscious decision to bring in people who are more baked. And I think that's good. I think they're raising the standard, because it's one thing when you go on these shows and you sing really beautifully, and then the next day, you know, go deal with the industry and the market. Right. And there's not a lot of shows, you know, on television this day and age that give a stage to musicians.
Right. Now, in the last month, when the Operation Gaza took place, The Voice wasn't given the stage either.
Yeah.
What were you guys doing during that time?
Well, I think, you know, the situation was very challenging, and a decision was made that during such a period, the show wasn't going to be aired. You know, people are getting injured and killed. It's an entertainment show. So a decision was made to just put everything on hold and until things settle down a bit.
Right.
And now the show's back. I mean, and that's great.
Your mentor on the show is Aviv Geffen, a very famous star here in Israel. What's it like working with him? You've known him before as well?
Yeah, we've worked before. I've opened up for Aviv a few times, opened up for his shows, and love his music and then work. It's great working with him. I think he's viciously honest, which is a great thing for developing. So he won't hide the truth from anyone. His truth, it is. You have to say that it's his truth. And his interest, I think, is great because he really wants to develop musicians, bring them to a stage where they can stand on their own,
right,
and they're not dependent on anyone else.
Right. Now, how is the Israeli audience reacting to your music?
Well, it's been great. I mean, after one episode that I've been on, because I don't have a television, I forget how many people do watch a show like this. And overnight, everybody's recognizing me on the street, in the market. You know, my fruit and veg seller who was always grumpy, and all of a sudden he's like, "Hey, how's it going?" And I mean, and the best thing is that people are getting exposed as a result to the music of Old Man River.
Right.
So a lot of people didn't know it before, and they're doing their own research after seeing the show, and then gaining new fans for the music.
So
it's
are you
amazing.
Going to play something for us today?
I'd love to, yeah.
What are you going to play for us?
I'm going to play the song that I did in the blind audition on the show. It's called Youre On My Mind.
Ohad Rein, You're On My Mind. Let's check it out.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Saturday night, there's no one around. I'm thinking of you, my love. I'm calling to you. I'm stuck in my pride. There's nowhere to hide. I'm thinking of you, my love. I'm calling to you, but I just can't keep you out. You're on my mind wherever I go. I think it's time to let you know that I can't go on watching love wasting away. This is the time to open your heart. I'm thinking of you, my love. I'm calling to you. There is no point in wondering why. There is no cure that I won't try.
Ohad Rein, thank you so much. I'm touched, I have to admit. I didn't expect it.
Thank you so much for having me.
In a moment, we'll talk about Iraqi guitarist Ilham Al-Madfai. But first, a few cultural events from around the world.
Like a film in the early stages of post-production, rich in images yet still lacking a clear narrative, the exhibition Unedited History, Iran 1960 to 2014, approaches the last half-century of Iranian art, with little regard for strict chronology. The display looks at the two defining political events of that era, the revolution of 1979 and the war with Iraq in the 1980s, and the way in which the different regimes have shaped the country's creative media. The display will take place at the Museum of Modern Art in Ville, Paris, until August the 24th. Unstable Places, New and Contemporary Art approaches the idea of instability, of a site or of a situation in physical, political, psychological, and existential terms. The display features the work of Bruce Conner, Omer Fast, and Thomas Demand, and it will be on view at Israel Museum in Jerusalem until November the 8th. Tate Modern exhibits the works of Kazimir Malevich, the founder of Suprematism, showcasing 420 works from 44 lenders and 11 countries. Most of these paintings won't travel again, making this a very important exhibition. Suprematism was ultimately defeated by Stalinist literalism, but the radical inversion of art and reality survives in the street art today, and Malevich remains as an important influence in the work of modern-day artists around the world. It will be on display until October the 26th.
And joining me now in the studio is Ranin Boulos with some cultural stories from the Arab world. Ranin, good to have you back.
Thank you. Good to be back. How are you?
I'm doing great. We're going to talk about Ilham Al-Madfai.
Yes.
An Iraqi musician. Why are we talking about it?
Okay. Ilham Al-Madfai, like you said, is an Iraqi musician, a very famous Iraqi musician all around the Arab world. The very special thing about Ilham Al-Madfai that he was the first Arab artist that took the guitar and took it inside, you know, he mixed it with the Arabic music.
Right, a very Western instrument,
yes,
and he managed to incorporate it into in place of the oud or something like that?
It's not instead of the, it's with the oud. Okay. So it's the sound of the guitar and the oud together with the Arabic instruments. So like you said, he took a very modern instrument and combined it with an old Arabic instrument.
Iraqi, is he in Iraq?
No, he doesn't live in Iraq now. He left Iraq since Saddam, because Saddam Hussein didn't really allow the artists to grow and to express their art, especially someone like Ilham Al-Madfai, that he was very different and very new, and like we said, he mixed the Western.
I think he moved to Jordan. Am I right?
He lives in Jordan, and he also has a house in Beirut, in Lebanon, where he performs. Also there, he performs in around the world,
and
not only in the Arab world.
One of our reporters had a chance to
sit recently, and Nab Halabi, our own I-24 News reporter, she was in Jordan, and she had an exclusive meeting with Ilham Al-Madfai.
What did he have to say?
Well, first of all, he's a very interesting personality because you can't really meet him. It was really special that he agreed, and he checks also your questions before and the text. If they're written in a good Arabic, it's a good level of Arabic. So we passed the test, and he agreed.
He agreed to talk, and he even talked politics a little bit.
The first time that Ilham Al-Madfai talks politics, and he said how sad he is about what's happening in Iraq, and basically he said that there's kind of conspiracy, what he thinks, that it doesn't make any sense that Iraq, such a great country and a big army, is not able to control what's happening. Yes. So he said, it's not only his voice, by the way. Time will tell
if he's right or not.
Ranin
Boulos, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining me as well. Great to have you, as always. We'll be back tomorrow with a whole new edition of Culture. Please join us again.